Hi everyone, Dave here, back with another video, and I just got out of watching the Dragon Ball superhero movie, and I wanted to film a quick review type deal for it. I was gonna film this in my car, but it's a little too hot to do that, and so I figured I'd sit here among the cigarette butts in the poison ivy to record the review, because I was afraid that by the time I got home I'd forget what I wanted to talk about. So let's get into it. It definitely was a movie, and it was good. It was good. It was solid. I will say, just a preemptive spoiler warning for this review, because there's a lot I want to talk about, and a lot of it does contain spoilers. So if you want to watch the movie, I'd recommend it, especially if you're a fan of Piccolo and Gohan, because they are the main characters of the film. That's not really a spoiler. They're the two predominantly on the movie poster and everything. And the movie does a great job of building up some lore in the Dragon Ball world and the Dragon Ball universe in some aspects. So I enjoyed that a lot. And so if you're a fan of that sort of stuff, I would recommend the film. I would. What else can I talk about before I get into spoilers? It is done, and a lot of you guys may have noticed already with the trailers. They went for like 3D CG in it instead of 2D or whatever, and the whole time it was running, I couldn't help but feeling like this doesn't feel like a Dragon Ball film, at least visually, and that took a minute for me to wrap my head around, and I couldn't tell if I liked it or not, because some scenes it looked great, when you're following somebody flying and the camera kind of zooms and zips around, and it's like, oh, this gives a nice sense of scope, a nice sense of atmosphere, it really kind of adds to what's going on. But other times it just looked like shit. There were scenes where you'd get close up on characters and it looked like you pulled them from a gacha game. It had that same quality of if you guys have played Dokkan Battle, and you pull an ultra rare Gohan, and that's kind of how it looked in some instances as well. So it was very hit or miss in the visual department. Like I said, sometimes it looked really good, sometimes it looked like ass, and it kind of was hard to wrap my head around. If this visual style was done in any other anime or anime movie, which it's been done before, and I'm not the biggest fan of 3D visuals because they can sometimes look really bad and just really cheap and cheesy and awkward, but the way that it was done here wasn't necessarily bad, but it looked bad because it's not how I expect Dragon Ball to look. And not that I'm shitting on them for trying something new, but I think that it just isn't what you think of when you think of Dragon Ball, and that makes it, I think, look worse than it does, at least in my opinion. So yeah, the visual aspects were weird. I don't know if there's much I can say without going into spoilers. So really, if you want a spoiler-free take on the movie, I thought it was pretty solid. I thought it was okay. I don't really think it compares to Battle of Gods. If we're going to compare it to the more recent Dragon Ball movies, or at least the Dragon Ball movies that relate to the Super timeline, even though Battle of Gods wasn't technically Super yet, but it's in that, you guys know what I mean. It's not better than that. It's probably maybe better than Resurrection F. I would have to watch Resurrection F again. And that's something that kind of just clicked, is Resurrection F dealt with Frieza, and this movie dealt with, this is a slight spoiler, but dealt with androids. Somebody just walked by and I got embarrassed, so I had to pause it. I thought I was in kind of a secluded spot, but I guess not. Anyway, yeah, so this movie deals with the Red Ribbon Army and androids. I wonder if they're going to do another movie that deals with Boo. Which, if they start like a Dragon Ball Super timeline that have like Gohan and Piccolo in the forefront, and other characters, save Vegeta and Goku for the actual series, that could be an interesting way to look at things. And I guess let's just jump into the spoilers. So, again, spoiler-free portion, I'd recommend it. It's, if you're a Dragon Ball fan, sure. If you're a Gohan and Piccolo fan, definitely. The visuals are a little and some of the story beats are kind of really just stupid in a way. But overall, solid movie. It was okay. But as we get into the spoiler portion, so for the rest of the spoilers ahead, it again deals with the Red Ribbon Army, and the way that it's done in conjunction with Piccolo and Vegeta, or I'm sorry, I'm so mixing up my characters. Goku and Vegeta are all training with Broly on Beerus's planet, and I've always hated like when they need to get in contact with and this has been a trope since Beerus was introduced as a character, and since they started to go train with Whis. It's always been a constant trope in the movies and in the show itself, is, we need to get in contact with Goku and Vegeta, but we can't for some reason. And it's like, it gets a little old and a little silly. Like, at first, they couldn't contact them because Bulma lost the communicator, and then they couldn't contact them because they were eating ice cream, and Beerus threw a ice cream jug, and it happened to land on the staff that was emitting the beacon. That then Whis couldn't see the beacon, so he didn't know that somebody was trying to call them. Like, it's just silly, and it just doesn't really make sense. I mean, it's like you have these omnipotent beings, and it's like, we couldn't see because of the ice cream got in the way, and that makes sense. It's a constant trope that the show and the movies now keep falling back on. Like, we can't get in touch with Vegeta and Goku. What are we gonna do? And it's just kind of this manufactured, like, we gotta wait for these guys to show up. But luckily, they didn't have that in this movie, because it was all Piccolo and Gohan. And it was a real movie. It was basically a movie about Gohan and his real dad. So a good Father's Day movie out there. If anyone wants to watch it for Father's Day, in June. Yeah, I think the world building was good. I think the Red Ribbon Army is always such an interesting villain, and they start out the movie with like a really good kind of recap of like what the Red Ribbon Army meant, in Dragon Ball. They were a big deal, and then Goku came by, and then they recapped Cell, and then they recapped the androids. And Dr. Gero's grandson, Dr. Hedo, is has a tie to it. He's android 16, which was based off of Dr. Gero's son, and android 21, which is based off of, I believe, his son's wife. He's their offspring in some capacity. So I thought that's pretty interesting. Like, already this character has a pretty good, is pretty deeply entrenched in some of the lore of Dragon Ball, and I thought that was an interesting way to introduce him, and he's a fun. I think he could turn into a fun character. He's a little, he's quirky. He loves superheroes, and he wants to be a superhero, and he develops these androids to resemble superheroes. I think he could be a fun new addition. We'll see what happens there. I'm trying to remember what my next point was. Basically, so he creates these androids, and Red Ribbon kind of tricks him into creating these androids, and they fight, whatever. The plot of the actual story itself is kind of not really important in the grand scheme of things. It also feels a little rushed. Like near the end, they all kind of become buddies, and it's very quick. It's very like, oh, we're fighting, and then wait a minute, no, we're not. And it was almost like they spent all this time doing all this other stuff, and then they realized, oh wait, we only have like a half an hour left of the movie, and we still haven't gotten to the big fight, which is Cell Max, by the way. It's a giant like cell, which makes me think like, okay, if they do another movie, they might touch on Boo a little bit. Like Kid Boo comes back or something. I don't really know how they would do that, but yeah, so it's very rushed, especially at the end. It's very much like, again, like we're fighting and then no, we're not, like we're buddies now, and some of the characters, some of the Z fighters like know information that they wouldn't like know yet. Like Piccolo is like fighting with the second Gamma, which are the robots, or sorry, the androids that Dr. Hedo made. He made Gamma 1 and Gamma 2, and Piccolo's fighting with Gamma, and he's like, hey, you've gotten bad information or whatever. And it's like, I mean, I guess you could pick up with that on context clues, but like, how would he know that? How would Piccolo know that? And then also just some reiterating of exposition, like I don't really have a good example, but it's like when a character has to fill in another character about what's going on, then they explain it a few times, and it's like, yeah, no, we know that already. I understand that this character needs to explain something to this other character, but us as an audience already know that, so you could just skip that and save us time. But like, you know, that happened I think 2 or 3 times where it was like, hey, this is Dr. Giro's grandson and he's creating these androids, and it's like, oh my god, really? No way. It's like, yeah, no, that's crazy. But like, it's like, we get it, you know. It's not a very deep plot. It's not very, you know, involved. It's, you know, it is what it is. But yeah, I thought, so honestly, the story was kind of irrelevant in the grand scheme of things. What this movie really did was not only set up a lot, but it also brought a lot to the forefront. It really kind of brought Gohan back into the realm of you know, because people say, and they even say in the movie, Gohan could be the strongest out of everybody if he just applied himself, and he really does. This is, I'm not gonna, I know I go into spoilers, and I did give a spoiler warning, but there's a lot that, especially if you're a Gohan fan, you're gonna want to see in this film. So I'm gonna leave that up to you to go watch. So I don't want to spoil and talk about everything. But there's a lot of great Gohan moments, and there's a lot of great Piccolo moments. His interactions with Pan especially were very cute and charming and nice, and Piccolo is a character that deserves more screen time than he's gotten recently. It's kind of become the Vegeta and Goku show, essentially, which I get. They're the two most popular characters. Goku is obviously the main character of Dragon Ball, and Vegeta has quickly become a main character as well, and he's a fan favorite, so I get it. And that's why I'm kind of hoping, hey, maybe they do like a little film series. You know, the next film they put out is again Gohan and Piccolo, and you know, yeah, it would be nice to see them take a more front and center stage in the actual show. But if we get them, let them have their movies, and then, you know, do the actual series with Goku and Vegeta, because reading in the Dragon Ball Super manga, you know, eventually Moru becomes a villain, and Vegeta and why do I keep saying Piccolo? Vegeta and Goku go off to Namek to fight him. So maybe, you know, while they're off doing that, you know, something else on Earth can happen. And that's kind of what I was trying to touch on earlier with, like, I wish there was a better way that they could write in, hey, Goku and Vegeta can't be here, other than just, oh, we didn't get the call, we didn't know. Like, that's, maybe it's just me reading too much into it, but it just seems a little silly that it's just always, oh, sorry, didn't get the phone in time, like, and it kind of becomes a bit lame. But yeah, so anyway, back to what I was talking about. A lot of really great character moments. You see a lot of very cute Piccolo and Pan moments. You know, because Pan is obviously starting to grow up, and there's a part where Piccolo, you know, picks her up from preschool, and that's very cute. And you know, Gohan really comes back into his own, and you see a lot of classic Gohan, you know, strength that you know, some people may think, oh, Gohan became a bitch. You know, not after watching this film. Gohan is very much not a bitch anymore, and I hope they continue to ride with that, because there was, back when the, you know, Cell Saga ended and the Buu Saga started, it was kind of, you know, at least initially supposed to become Gohan's show, but Goku was too popular of a character that they, you know, brought him back. But like I'm saying, you know, hopefully maybe they give Gohan the films and let him be the main character of the films, and then, you know, have Goku and Vegeta be the main character of the show, because I'm pretty sure the show's coming back. At the very least, you know, there's still a lot of the manga left to go. So, you know, I would assume that Dragon Ball Super, the show, is going to come back at some point. But, what else did I want to say? But yeah, I mean, so yeah, some of the stuff with the plot in this movie was just a little dumb, a little rushed, a little forced. But again, you're not really watching this movie for the plot. You're watching it for Gohan, and you're watching it for Piccolo. And also, my boy Krillin makes a very clutch appearance at the end, and he helps in a pretty big way. Honestly, it doesn't seem like a lot, and maybe it's just because I'm hyping him up because Krillin's my favorite Dragon Ball character, but he kind of helps out in a pretty big way near the end. And you get a couple, you know, at the end there, you get some nice cameo from all the characters. You know, you get to see slightly kind of preteen, older versions of Goten and Trunks, which makes me think just how long afterwards does this take place? Because now that I think about it, I don't think, and granted, they're not really shown much in the manga, but like Goten and Trunks weren't preteens yet in the manga, so it, at least to where I'm up to in the Dragon Ball Super manga, so it makes me wonder just like how far along they actually are when, in terms of this specific story in relation to the Dragon Ball Super show. Also, some of the character reactions to things in this movie were kind of silly, like Piccolo's telling Gohan, oh, you gotta be ready, man, you gotta keep up with your training, and Gohan's like, when is that gonna happen? Like, when are people gonna just attack Earth? It's like, dude, that happens every other day. People are attacking Earth. What are you talking about? Why would you even say that? And I don't know, it was just some silly stuff that kind of make me feel like, man, did these guys even watch Dragon Ball? Which obviously they do, which just makes it a little more confusing as to some of the plot points, and some of the character reactions to things are a little like, why do that? And I kind of hate, like, I know I said Krillin comes in clutch, and he does at the end, but when he first comes in, they kind of turn my boy into a bit of a bitch for no reason. And I know Krillin's always been, you know, sometimes a bit of a scaredy cat, but he's not like a bitch, dude, at least from what I remember. I don't think he's ever been just a straight up bitch about things, but I don't know. It wasn't really anything major, and they really were only in the film for the last maybe half hour, you know, basically for the final fight. But again, all of it kind of moved quickly. The new characters that they introduced are fine. I think could make decent additions, but they kind of, their arcs were basically like a very quick, and I know there's, you know, not a whole lot you can tell in an hour and 40-minute film, but I feel like they kind of rushed it, and it just made for kind of an odd experience in that regard. What else did I want to mention? The animation was just, it didn't sit right with me. There was just something about it that felt super weird, and just parts of it felt really cheesy and chinsy, and some of it some of it looked actually kind of solid. Like, there were certain action scenes when the lighting hit right, or when, you know, certain characters were doing certain things, it looked good. But it was kind of like, I don't know, like I said, a lot of it looked like a little animation from a gacha game, like from Dokkan Battle. Like, that's really the biggest thing that didn't sit right with me. And I know it sounds a little pretentious to complain about the art, but it really kind of took me out of the experience, especially because in the flashbacks that they show, they do those, if I'm not mistaken, in 2D animation, in the traditional Dragon Ball animation style. So it's like, why couldn't the whole movie just be that? Instead of trying to make it, I don't know, it felt weird. And for the first, you know, however many minutes, my eyes had to adjust, and I'm like, this doesn't even really feel like a Dragon Ball film. But I don't know, I plan on rewatching it again at some point. And I was sitting like off to the side in the theater, so it could have been just the angle I was sitting at, you know, I don't know, maybe it'll look better on a smaller screen with the art kind of a little more condensed and consolidated, if that makes any sense. I don't know. At this point, yeah, at this point, I feel like people are looking at me. I don't know, maybe not, probably not. I'm like sitting here in an empty parking lot, so I don't, but there just happens to be like the occasional person come by, and it makes me feel weird about sitting here talking to my phone. But at the end of the day, it was a fine film. Again, you're watching it for the characters. You're not really watching this film for the story. At least that's how I interpret it. Alright, I want to talk about it. I was going to leave it. This is a super, super spoiler. So if you were okay with the spoilers, that's fine. But this is basically for anybody who stumbles upon this video who's already seen the film. So I'm going to spoil that in 3, 2, 1. My fucking Gohan going like Ultra Instinct at the end there, dude. That was pretty gnarly. They got to bring that shit back. Hopefully that's not a one and done thing. And this is where I think the film this is what I think the film does really well. So it's a good jumping off point for not only Gohan's new transformation, but Piccolo's new transformation. That shit, I would love to see that make an appearance in the actual Dragon Ball Super anime, if they bring that back, or well, it's more of when, I guess, they bring that back. Because those were really cool. Gohan brings back the classic Super Saiyan 2 spiky hairstyle and goes Ultra Instinct, which at least I think that's what it was. I mean, it was white hair and it was crazy, like it got bigger and everything. I'm pretty sure that was supposed to resemble Ultra Instinct, which was nuts. It's such a leap. Like, he didn't, like, it's so ridiculous, but at the end of the day, it's still really cool to see. He didn't like go Super Saiyan God or anything, which kind of throws that whole shit out the window. Like, Super Saiyan God used to be this whole like, oh, this whole ritual and this whole whatever, and then like it's like, oh, now we can go blue, and then now Vegeta can do it without the whole ritual, and now Gohan just shoots right up to Ultra Instinct. So power levels are a fucking joke in Dragon Ball at this point, if they haven't been a joke for the last 5 or 10 years. But whatever. I mean, at this point, you're honestly just watching it to see strong guys hit each other. But Piccolo got this cool power up too, where he turned orange and got like really buff, like Chad Piccolo, like ultra super alpha male Chad Piccolo, I guess. But that was cool. That was cool to see. You know, Piccolo deserves a lot because he is one of the few Dragon Ball characters with an actual arc. And I love to see him on screen because he has changed a lot over the course of the show, and he's, you know, an excellent character. So yeah, that was really cool. And of course, Gohan doing the special beam cannon at the end there too was just icing on the cake. Like, it was so great. Such a really cool moment that, you know, they put in there for the fans. And, you know, I was sitting in the theater, and when that happened, everyone was losing their fucking minds, and it was just something really cool to be a part of, and it was honestly sick to see. Like, it was awesome. So yeah, so that's that with that. But anyway, if you guys made it this far, thank you guys so much for watching. I know this kind of was all over the place, and I'm gonna probably get home and be like, oh, I wanted to talk about that point, or oh, I wanted to talk about that. But I think I, did the best job I could in at least explaining a little bit about this film and just giving my thoughts on it, which at the end of the day is what a review is. So, yeah, that's pretty much it. Thanks for watching. At the end of the day, this film was okay. It was good. Like, it wasn't bad. There have been some bad Dragon Ball films, and this was not one of them. The art style is gonna be maybe a big offense to some people. It definitely, I didn't hate it, but I did not love it. So that might strike people the wrong way a little bit. But other than that, the film was pretty okay, at least from a character perspective. But I'm just starting to repeat myself at this point. So anyway, I hope you enjoy it. If you decide to go watch it, let me know if this review gave you a little bit of insight at all. I'm trying to get better at my style of reviewing, but at the end of the day, a review is just me talking, and I don't really see much of that changing. So yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.